All right, everyone, get ready, because today we're going nuclear.
Going nuclear on Bandsplain, that is.
Uh-huh. Yeah, okay, yeah.
We're going to take a deep dive into the world of nuclear energy.
It's a topic that I think is honestly both fascinating and pretty controversial these days.
Yeah, definitely.
And, I think it's worth all of us kind of wrapping our heads around it.
Absolutely.
I used to picture nuclear reactors as just these...
Like huge.
Yeah, intimidating, sci-fi things.
Yeah.
But now I'm really curious to kind of understand the science of how it all works.
Mm-hmm.
How can we actually harness the power of something as tiny as an atom?
Yeah, well, it all starts with understanding that within an atom's nucleus, there's a tremendous amount of energy that's kind of locked away.
Okay.
And it's all thanks to the strong forces that are holding those protons and neutrons together.
Yeah, okay, I vaguely remember that from high school physics.
Right.
But how do we actually get to that energy?
Yeah, so through a process called nuclear fission.
Okay.
It's basically splitting a heavy atom like uranium.
Okay.
But here's the thing, not all uranium is created equal.
Okay.
It's the uranium-235 isotope that's the key player in nuclear reactors.
Okay, so why is uranium-235 so special?
It comes down to its neutron-absorbing properties.
Okay.
So when a U-235 atom absorbs a neutron, it becomes unstable and splits,
Okay.
releasing energy and more neutrons.
Gotcha.
And then those newly released neutrons go on to strike other U-235 atoms, creating a chain reaction.
Okay, so it's that chain reaction that provides a continuous release of energy.
Exactly.
That's actually pretty ingenious when you think about it.
It is, but of course it requires incredibly precise control to harness that energy safely and effectively.
Right.
That's where the engineering marvel of a nuclear reactor comes in.
Okay, well, let's get into that.
Right.
Paint me a picture of what's happening inside one of these reactors.
All right, so imagine a massive steel vessel called the reactor core,
Okay.
housing fuel rods filled with enriched uranium pellets.
Okay.
And that's where the magic, or rather the fission, happens.
Enriched uranium. Does that mean they've somehow, supercharged the uranium?
In a way, yes, they've increased the concentration of U-235
Okay.
to make the chain reaction more efficient.
Uh-huh.
But remember, we need to keep that chain reaction in check.
Right, of course, yeah.
And that's where control rods come into play.
So the control rods are like the brakes on this powerful energy-producing machine.
Exactly. These rods are made of neutron-absorbing materials,
Okay.
and they can be inserted or withdrawn from the core to regulate the speed of the chain reaction and the amount of heat generated.
So it's a delicate balancing act.
It is.
And I imagine things get pretty hot in there.
Yeah.
So how do they manage all that intense heat produced by fission?
That's where coolants and moderators come in.
Okay.
Coolants, usually water, circulate through the core to absorb the heat.
Gotcha.
And moderators, often water as well, slow down the neutrons to the optimal speed for sustaining the chain reaction.
Okay, so we've got these fuel rods, we've got control rods, coolants, and moderators all working together within the reactor core.
Right.
But how do they actually convert that nuclear heat into the electricity that powers our homes?
Right.
It's not like we have uranium-powered toasters, right?
No, not quite.
Okay, good.
The key is a brilliant piece of engineering called a heat exchanger.
Okay.
It acts as a go-between,
Okay.
transferring the incredible heat from the reactor core to a separate loop of water, turning it into high-pressure steam.
So there's a barrier preventing the radioactive material from directly contacting the water that eventually generates electricity.
Precisely, it's all about containment and safety.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens next might surprise you.
Okay, so we've got this superheated steam just brimming with energy.
Mm-hmm.
What happens next?
Well, it doesn't just hang out in the heat exchanger.
Right.
It's channeled to a turbine.
Okay.
As it rushes through, the force of the steam spins the turbine blades at incredible speeds.
Oh. I'm picturing a giant windmill, but instead of wind, it's powered by atom-splitting steam.
Yeah, a very powerful windmill.
Yeah.
And that spinning turbine is the key to generating electricity.
Okay.
So the turbine is connected to a generator,
Okay.
which essentially has a magnet spinning inside it.
Oh, yeah. I remember learning about this in school.
Yeah.
Something about moving magnets and creating electrical currents.
Exactly. As that magnet spins within the generator, it creates a flow of electrons.
Mm-hmm.
And that's electricity.
Wow.
And just like that, the energy released from splitting atoms is transformed into the power that runs our lights, our computers, our lives.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it, the chain of events.
It is.
From a tiny atom being split to powering an entire city.
Yeah.
So what happens to all that steam after it's done spinning the turbine?
Well, we can't just let it escape.
Right.
We need to cool it down and condense it back into water so we can use it again.
Okay.
This is where the condenser comes into play. The steam is directed to a condenser where it's cooled, often using water from a nearby source, like a river or a lake.
So the steam is basically giving its heat energy to the cooler water, causing it to condense back into a liquid.
That's right. Gotcha.
And then that condensed water is pumped back to the heat exchanger, where it's heated again by the reactor coolant, and the whole cycle starts anew.
So it's a closed-loop system, incredibly efficient.
It is.
It seems like the design of a nuclear reactor is all about safety and efficiency.
Absolutely. Every component from the fuel rods to the condenser is engineered with meticulous precision.
Yeah.
And when it comes to different types of reactors, each one has its own unique set of features and advantages.
You mentioned earlier that there are various reactor designs out there.
Yeah.
What are some of the key differences?
Well, we've been focusing on pressurized water reactors, or PWRs, which are the most common type globally. They use incredibly high pressure to prevent the water from boiling in the reactor core.
But another type is the boiling water reactor, or BWR.
So in a BWR, the water actually boils within the reactor core.
That's right. It operates at a lower pressure, allowing the water to boil and directly create steam.
Gotcha.
There are also reactors that utilize heavy water as a moderator, which can offer certain efficiency advantages.
Heavy water, is that like super dense water or something?
It is denser, but it's not just about weight. Heavy water contains deuterium, a slightly heavier isotope of hydrogen, which interacts with neutrons differently than regular water.
Gotcha.
This allows for the use of natural uranium fuel instead of enriched uranium.
Fascinating. Seems like there's a whole world of reactor designs out there, each with its own pros and cons.
There is, and we're only just scratching the surface.
Right.
Some newer reactor designs are being developed that could potentially revolutionize the nuclear industry.
Oh, like what? Give me a glimpse into the future of nuclear technology.
Well, there are fast breeder reactors which have the incredible ability to produce more fuel than they consume.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, imagine that a reactor that actually generates more fuel as it operates.
How is that even possible?
It's complex, but essentially, fast breeder reactors utilize fast neutrons to convert non-fissile uranium-238 into plutonium-239, which can then be used as fuel.
Wow.
They hold the promise of extending uranium resources significantly.
That sounds like something out of a science fiction movie.
It does.
Are there any other futuristic reactor designs in the works?
There are molten salt reactors, or MSRs are another exciting concept. They use liquid salt instead of water to carry the heat away from the core.
Molten salt, isn't that incredibly dangerous?
It does sound a bit daunting, but molten salt has some remarkable properties. For one, it operates at much lower pressures than water-cooled reactors, which can enhance safety. Plus, the salts used can tolerate much higher temperatures, leading to greater efficiency.
I'm starting to see why these new reactor designs are causing such a buzz. But let's face it, nuclear energy still carries a lot of baggage, especially when it comes to safety concerns and the disposal of radioactive waste.
You're right. Those are the elephants in the room, and we definitely need to address them.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that like Chernobyl and Fukushima still kind of loom large in people's minds.
It's true. Those events were tragic. And they really, impacted how we view nuclear safety. But it's important to understand that modern nuclear power plants are designed with a completely different approach to safety. They incorporate, multiple layers of redundant systems to prevent accidents and contain any potential releases of radiation.
So it's not just about hoping for the best, but actually planning for the worst case scenario.
Exactly. Think of it as a defense in-depth strategy. It starts with the fuel itself. The uranium pellets are encased in these incredibly robust fuel rods, which act as the first line of defense.
So even if something goes wrong, the radioactive material is contained within those fuel rods.
Right, then you have the reactor vessel.
This massive steel structure built to withstand immense pressure and heat. And surrounding all of this is the containment building. This like fortress of reinforced concrete and steel designed to contain any potential leaks, even in the event of a major accident.
It sounds like they've really thought of everything.
Yeah.
But what about human error? I mean, accidents can happen even with the best technology.
You're absolutely right. That's why modern nuclear plants have sophisticated monitoring systems, backup cooling systems, and rigorous safety protocols. Operators undergo extensive training to handle a wide range of scenarios, and there are multiple layers of oversight and regulation.
So it's a combination of advanced technology and stringent procedures.
Precisely. And beyond those active safety systems that require human intervention or external power, there are also passive safety features.
Okay.
These rely on natural forces like gravity or convection to keep the reactor cool, even in a worst-case scenario like a power outage. That's a relief to hear. But even with all these safety measures, there's still the issue of radioactive waste.
Right.
What happens to all that spent nuclear fuel once it's no longer useful?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, and it's one of the biggest challenges facing the nuclear industry.
Okay.
Spent nuclear fuel remains radioactive and generates heat for many years. It requires careful handling and long-term storage solutions.
So what are our options? Where do we put all this radioactive waste?
Currently, most spent fuel is stored in pools of water at reactor sites.
Yeah, okay.
These pools are designed to cool the fuel and shield the radiation, but they're considered temporary solutions.
Right. I imagine finding a permanent solution is a top priority.
It is. The long-term goal is to develop deep geological repositories.
Okay.
Actually, super secure underground bunkers designed to isolate the waste for thousands of years until its radioactivity decays to safe levels.
Wow, burying it in deep underground. That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It does have a certain futuristic feel to it, but it's based on sound science and engineering principles.
Okay.
These repositories would have to be located in stable geological formations far away from groundwater and seismic activity.
It's a big responsibility to make sure that radioactive waste is safely isolated for generations to come.
It is, and finding suitable locations and building these repositories is a complex undertaking.
Yeah.
But it's crucial for the sustainable future of nuclear energy.
Okay, so we've talked about safety and waste disposal, two of the biggest concerns surrounding nuclear power.
Right.
But what about the broader picture? How does nuclear energy stack up against other energy sources in terms of its pros and cons?
Well, let's start with the positives. Nuclear power plants have a remarkably small carbon footprint.
Okay.
They produce virtually no greenhouse gases, making them a significant player in the fight against climate change.
That's a huge plus these days. What else is there to like about nuclear?
They also boast an incredibly high energy density.
Okay.
A tiny amount of uranium can produce a massive amount of electricity. And unlike solar and wind power, which are intermittent sources, nuclear plants can operate around the clock, providing a stable baseload of power to the grid.
Yeah, those are some compelling advantages, especially as we try to move towards a more sustainable energy future. But I imagine there are some downsides as well.
Of course, we've already discussed the challenges of waste management and the public perception of safety risks.
Right.
There's also the issue of nuclear proliferation, the fact that the technology used for peaceful energy production can also be used to create weapons.
Right.
Which poses geopolitical concerns.
Yeah, that's a significant issue that can't be ignored. And then there's the cost factor.
Mm-hmm.
Building a nuclear power plant is a massive undertaking. It requires a huge upfront investment.
You're right, nuclear power isn't cheap.
Yeah.
But when you factor in the long-term operational costs and the environmental benefits, it becomes a more competitive option.
It sounds like nuclear energy is kind of a mixed bag,
yeah,
with both compelling advantages and significant challenges.
It's not a silver bullet,
right,
but it's a crucial part of the global energy mix. And the future of nuclear technology is looking increasingly promising.
Okay.
We've talked about innovative reactor designs like fast breeder reactors and molten salt reactors,
right,
which offer the potential for enhanced safety, efficiency, and sustainability.
And then there's like the ultimate dream, harnessing the power of nuclear fusion, the process that fuels the stars.
Yes, yeah. Fusion, the holy grail of energy production.
Right.
Imagine a nearly limitless clean source of energy mimicking the very process that powers the sun.
It sounds too good to be true. Is it even remotely achievable?
It's certainly a monumental scientific and engineering challenge.
Yeah.
But significant progress is being made. Major research projects around the world are pushing the boundaries of fusion technology.
Wow.
And some experts believe we could see practical fusion power plants within a few decades.
That would be truly revolutionary. It seems like the world of nuclear energy is full of surprises, from the intricate workings of a fission reactor to the tantalizing possibilities of fusion.
It's a fascinating field that's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
And as we navigate the complexities of our energy future, understanding nuclear energy is more important than ever.
Well said. This deep dive has been incredible. It's really shed light on the power of the atom,
yeah,
the intricacies of nuclear reactors, and the exciting possibilities that are on the horizon. It's clear that nuclear energy is a topic that deserves our attention and a lot of informed discussion.
Absolutely. It's about weighing the risks and benefits, understanding the science and the challenges, and engaging in thoughtful conversations about the role nuclear energy can play in shaping a sustainable future.
Couldn't agree more if you're as intrigued by the world of nuclear energy as we are. Be sure to visit our website at www.dansplain.xyz.
Yes.
We've got tons of articles, videos, and links to further reading on this and many other fascinating topics.
And who knows, maybe one day we'll have a follow-up episode all about nuclear fusion.
Until then, stay curious, everyone, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
See you next time.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep Dan-splaining the world around you.